Sarah, guess what? It's Tuesday. I want to start by reading something I said a couple weeks ago in a past vlog. Quote, "Let's be honest, we kinda already know who the top 3 are going to be. It's either going to be Logan, Kelly, or Stephanie. Joke's on me, I guess. 2 of my 3 picks are, not in the competition anymore. And in a few videos ago, I said I was right a lot, and now here I am being not so right. As many of my friends will tell you, I'm either right or horribly, horribly wrong. And so I'm gonna eat this bar of soap for my punishment. I've been dreading this part for like 3 or 4 days, because I was like, oh, this will be really funny. This will be great. Down the hatch. Doesn't even smell good. Oh, fuck. There's nothing pleasurable about this experience. Texture was awful, the flavor was atrocious. It smells like vanilla and orange, doesn't taste like vanilla and orange. Give it a big ol' like if you enjoyed that. That was, on with the show, I guess. So a few days ago, I decided I was gonna do a top 10 video on 10 reasons why I thought lunar colonies would be a bad idea. What spurred this thought? I'm still not entirely sure. I just know for a fact it wasn't going to be serious or anything like that. It was actually going to be very comical and not exactly based on any hard, fast science. It was just kind of me blathering about stuff I don't really know anything about. But at 3:30 this morning, I started doing some research so I could base the top 10 list on some actual facts, so I could actually have a vague idea to know what I was making fun of. And then I saw a post that actually kind of surprised me. Russia plans on having a permanent lunar colony operational by 2040-ish. So I dug deeper, I did some actual research, I even read a Harvard paper. I feel so freaking smart right now. Well, comparatively smart, I just bit into a bar of soap, so... Sarah, did you know that the earliest proposed lunar colony, in print anyway, was in 1638 by Bishop John Wilkins? I know, I thought this was BS too, but I looked into it, I did some more research on that, and it's actually true. Though it was only a passing mention, and he didn't really have any plans on how he was going to get up there, but that's not the point. That bishop can officially add first post to his status. Somewhat more recently though, lunar colonies have actually been on scientists' minds for quite a while now. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of backstory over this, because there's a lot of background information that honestly is going to take way too long to explain in this short video. However, I'm going to go over the interesting snippets about the feasibility of lunar colonies, because let's be honest, how cool is this actually? Not only does Russia have a legit governmental plan to colonize the moon, so does China, Japan, the European Space Agency, and to a limited degree, the United States of America. I say limited because NASA doesn't seem to have any public articles on the topic. However, politicians running for the presidential office do. However, all these countries racing to see who can colonize the moon first raises some huge political dilemmas. As things stand, there are no official laws governing who has rights to the moon and who owns the moon. And if you want to see how civil countries can be about owning or more likely co-owning something as important as the moon, just take a look at how the international politics are faring over the whole Antarctica issue. It's a royal nightmare. Now, assuming all these countries could get along for more than 5 minutes and could stay within their picket fences on the moon, how does one go about building a lunar colony? Minecraft. Obviously, the hardest part would be the initial stages. There's a long list of hazards and problems they could run into during the early construction phases. No atmosphere on the moon, which means no protection from solar winds, and more worryingly, from crap hitting the moon on a regular basis. Golf ball sized celestial objects, the fancy way of saying chunks of ice and rock that aren't coming from the ground you're standing on and coming from everywhere else, pose major risks for not only property, but personnel. Imagine getting beamed by one of those things. Your head would probably... Water. On the Earth, we have this sort of magical natural system of evaporation, natural filtration, and recycling, where we have this source of water. There's a definitive lack of that sort of thing on the moon, and while there is confirmation that there is large deposits of ice in the shadows and in the poles of the moon, you can't bank on that being a sustainable source of water. Also, microgravity. The moon is approximately 1/6 the gravity of Earth, so anyone living on the moon for prolonged periods of time would likely sustain damages to not only bone and muscle tissue, but also to the immune system, much like the astronauts from the International Space Station face. Not to the same degree, but very similar nonetheless. Also, moon dust. It's light, it's coarse, and apparently it's sticky. My research didn't indicate why it was sticky, it just said it was sticky, so I'm guessing it's static electricity. Point is, it would coat everything. It would fill every nook and cranny. It would get frickin' everywhere, like sand on the beach, except, worse. This could cause no shortage of problems to equipment, and scientists aren't even sure if the moon dust is toxic to humans or not. Safe bet, it probably is. On the plus side of that though, enough coating of moon dust could actually work to add insulation against radiation to structures. In fact, at certain depths below the surface of the moon, it's theorized that you'd be just as well protected from celestial threats as if you were in Earth's atmosphere. Celestial threats, that sounds like something from Supernatural. The first step to moon colonization would be the establishment of a temporary surface base. I'll save you the details on the majority of the models. However, I will tell you the one that's really interesting. Foster and Partners proposed in 2013 that a 3D printer could be developed that would be able to build structures on the moon using 10% non-lunar materials. From the establishment of a temporary surface base would be the establishment of an underground lunar colony. Chinese documents propose a base that could house 60 people and their families, which, using China's average demographics, would be 1 spouse and 1.5 kids. Sorry, that half a kid. In the final stage of their plan at the tail end of 2040. For best underground results, most plans call for the utilization of lava tubes. Oh, by the way, the moon has lava. I mean, it makes sense, but all the same, grab your Goron tunic because you're going to need that sucker. With an underground lunar colony, you'd be pretty well set up for long-term operations. Benefits to this? This many! The mission to Mars becomes a hell of a lot more feasible when you're launching from the moon. You don't have to use as much energy to leave the moon's gravitational fields. As well, you don't have to deal with inclement weather. Except, moon dust. Kind of sounds like a drug when I think about it. Also, the dark side of the moon is very well shielded from Earth's radio pollution. Radio waves tend to get back by the moon, meaning getting deep space readings would be easier and cleaner. Also, minerals. There's confirmation to be deposits of finite Terran minerals that would be very beneficial if we could mine them. And, most pessimistically of all, the moon could function as a sort of lunar Noah's Ark sort of thing if the Earth ever faced extinction level threats. Whatever it may be, meteorite or zombie apocalypse. Long story short, there are many benefits to lunar colonies. However, these dreams face one major threat that is of our own design. Us. Until the human race can put aside its petty differences and work towards a common goal, the moon is the sort of Pandora's box with how it would influence global politics. Obviously, the country that gains control of the moon would have a huge, albeit expensive, advantage over other nations. And while there is a treaty forbidding nuclear weapons from ever being placed on the surface of the moon, the human imagination is terrifying. And yet, it's also amazing. Sarah? I'll see you on Friday.